Yes, we're live. So, welcome everybody to yet another live interview show with Become a Fearless Father in Coulton Woods, people. I got him.
That's funny.
I told you before we got live, this has been in the making. I think, how long have we been talking about this? Trying to get this set up, working for you, for me, 4 or 5, maybe 6 months even.
Something like that. It's been crazy, yeah.
Exactly. But in the end, it doesn't matter as long as it happens and we get to share some of Coulton's golden nuggets with all you guys out there.
It's awesome.
But yeah, exactly. That's the word. That's the word.
Thanks for having me on, dude.
I appreciate that. Absolutely, man. So anyway, let's get right in, right? So just so that people know, before we start going live, I always like 2-3 minutes just to talk real quick. And I got that opportunity with Coulton. And we were talking look, man, if I could go back in time right before I made the decision to quit my job and start full-time with Become a Fearless Father, I would love to know exactly what you know in regards to MLM, because I think that is one of the best ways to build up financial stability so you can jump in with everything you have into something crazy like starting your own business and just, doing stuff. Because, I think you noticed the first 6 months, I wasn't making any money. I was just going live, doing all these kinds of crazy live interviews, sometimes 8 a week and just going live and stuff like that. I had no idea how to make money. And at a certain point, it was just like, money's running out. What am I going to do now, right? If you have that, what you do, and then it will be stable. So let's jump right in, man. Share with us, just what are the key secrets. I'm starting to not like the word secret. What are the key strategies to make sure that while you're still working your job, you build out a nice, good size income, turning into a nice, good cash, so you can say, Chief, it was nice. Here's my resignation, right?
Yeah, you know what? That's actually why I love MLM in the first place. And I know a lot of times I say MLM and people are like, all right, I'm out of here. I don't want to listen to this dude. And I used to be that exact same way until I started working with Steve Larson, even before he was known as Steve Larson, back in college. And I remember the first time he told me that he was going to create this MLM funnel and change the industry. I remember being like, yeah, right, bro. It's MLM is just let it go, And, but no, he went on and changed it and did some things. And now I help him with a lot of that, which is cool. But it's really interesting because a lot of people just see MLM as talk to your friends and family and bug everybody.
Exactly.
And we do the complete opposite of that. We don't bug anybody. We essentially just are out there and teaching awesome stuff all the time so that people come to us instead of us going to them. It's a whole different paradigm when you have them, when you switch that role. And people are still going out and trying to get people to come to them. And, it's awesome that we get to teach the things that we do and help people understand, hey, you know what? Let's find you something you really enjoy. And that's the first trick is something you like to do or you love. And you can tell when somebody's promoting a product that they don't care about.
Yeah.
It's I just want the money, just buy it, Yeah. But when it's actually something they care about, you can kind of feel the passion in it a little bit there. And that's funny because that's kind of how I got into my own MLM, is because I actually started taking the product and it changed my life. And so I was like, I have to share this. And then I got working with Steve Larson and, stories, from there kind of written out. So, a couple of secrets though is literally guys, find what you love, go for it. Just start running with it. That's the biggest thing is too many people get stuck in their own head. I have to create all this stuff or I have to do everything, all this whole list before I get started. And honestly, it's guys, just get out there and start running with it. And then make some content, just start going crazy with content. And you saw that, you figured that out. You just started doing interviews and all this stuff. And then pretty soon you're all right, I got this, I can start moving now.
Yeah.
So that's a couple.
Absolutely, man. So 2 things. I want to quick one. I want to add one secret, man. So anybody listening is like, all right, this MLM thing, I've seen it. I hate those people that, you befriend them, or they invite you on your Facebook, and you say, okay, you look at them, you're like, okay, he's got a lot of friends that I have, I'm going to accept him. And the first thing they do is just, right? That's easy, block, and that's it, right? So my suggestion to anybody is that just like kind of thinking like, okay, this might be something for me, and I'm actually looking for an extra way to make some money. Follow what Coulton said, and 2, follow Coulton, follow Steve Larson, and you check these guys out, because I can guarantee you guys get often. I can imagine you guys get often a reaction like, dude, you guys do nothing in regards to MLM as the way I've just been, bombarded by so many people that I just, my block list just. Right? Doesn't that happen often? Like people are like, wow, you guys are fresh. That's a word. Fresh air, right?
Breath of fresh air, yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny because I've never actually called. Okay, the first time I got an MLM, the guys tried to get me to call people, and I was not going to do that. So I was not very successful at all because I'm not the type of person to do that. Like I have a really hard time getting on the phone anyway. I don't like the phone, so I'm like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
But like where we're at, I've never called one person. I've like never reached out. I've never got on Facebook and sent them a message like, hey, are you interested? I hope you're keeping your options open. Like, no, we don't do that. And that's what's awesome about it,
Yeah, absolutely. It makes everybody feel so great, right?
Yeah.
It's like everybody just gets attracted to you. So you immediately also know it's like, okay, the people that now going to ask us questions is like our ideal client. That's who we want to attract, because that's the message that we send out, which means that you attract that kind of person, right?
Exactly.
I love that. That's so important. So people pick up, actually, I can't say this enough, man, follow these guys, because just the energy, man, that's for me, that's everything, right? This energy is everything. So I want to dive into that as well, right? But first, before we go into all that kind of stuff, share real quick, man, what's your background story? And I know in ClickFunnels, where you've been through the whole ClickFunnels school, if we could call that ClickFunnels University. And what's your origin story, right? In a nutshell.
Try to make it quick. Since back in college, I knew, I was going into business management for my degree. And I'm like, I want to start a business so bad. And I was looking for everything, trying to like keep my mind open to something that maybe I could do. And I had all these ideas run through my mind. And one kid in my class started talking to me like, this dude's pretty cool. And he's like, yeah, I just started doing this thing where essentially I became like a manager for this company where I can sell all this stuff, and I get people in underneath me to like help sell it even more. And I'm like, well, this is a cool business idea, It's totally an MLM. And I didn't really quite understand MLM as much back then. And I hadn't really been burned yet, I guess you could say. And so I'm like talking to this guy, and he's like, yeah, like, let's get you in, let's get you signed up. And then you can start working on this stuff and start getting, your people, friends and family signed over to, I won't give too many details, but to this service essentially. And I remember I was like, man, this is so cool. I'm like, as entrepreneurs, like sometimes, a lot of the times before we go to bed, like an idea hits, and then we just keep like going on it and just keep going and keep going. And pretty soon you're like hours later, you're like, I gotta go to bed. Like, but like, I'm sitting there like, this is awesome. I can totally, I have resources. I have these people I can reach out to that I can totally make some money with. Right. And like start building that up. So I get all excited. I talk to him. He's like, it's $500 to sign up. And I'm like, I'm a really poor college student right now. And I guess that's the bad thing with the market. So I'm like, well, the only way, because I know my wife's not going to let me put that on a credit card, and and use money for that. Like, so I'm like, not going that way. So I remember I did something that I was taught not to do, but I did it anyway. I called my dad. I was like, hey dad, like, I got this really cool business opportunity that I'm trying to get in on, and it's $500. I'm wondering if you can just kind of float me some cash, And honestly, I thought he was going to tell me no, like straight up, like not going to happen, like he understood. After he asked enough questions, he knew what it was, and to my surprise, he's like, yeah, I'll give you $500. I'm like, wow, okay. Nice. All right. Like, this is cool, And I think looking back on it now, I think he was trying to teach me something different.
There you go, $500 to show that you're dumbass.
Right? Here's $500 for a lesson. You know.
Right, that's a lesson.
So, you know, I got signed up, I got started, and I think I signed like 3 people up that were just in my circles that I was, you know, talking to enough people, trying to get them to come to a party and understand what I was doing. And I remember I actually was making calls to people, to companies, even their businesses that I knew, to see if I could switch their services over to mine so I could make some money there. And it was just like pulling teeth, and like, it was just horrible. And none of them would switch, you know, because it's not worth it to them. So I essentially gave that up. And then I met Steve Larson not too long after, actually, which was pretty cool, in college. So that's kind of how I got started into it. And then I found the real way. I came to the light. And yeah, Steve's got some good stuff there. So yeah.
Absolutely, man. He certainly does. Again, man, it's that energy, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right.
Back in college, he even had he's got more energy now than he did back then, but
I can understand that.
That's pretty cool.
I definitely understand that. So I gotta ask, it's gonna be a funny question. That just popped in my head, so I don't even know if it's gonna be funny, but so for people that do know Steve Larson, right? Steve Larson is boom, right? So he shared with me how that happened, right? So it happened because his kids were louder than he was when he was on a webinar, and he had to go over that. So he just started me, boom. So I'm wondering, man, is there ever anything that happened to you in regards to because you have one child, right?
Yeah, I have a little boy. Yeah.
Exactly. Is there anything ever that your boy did that made you change something? Like, okay, that was a fantastic idea. I got to do this different.
Oh, that's a cool question, dude.
Right? It just popped in my head. I'm like, hey, this is cool.
No, yeah. It's funny because it wasn't necessarily so much of an idea, but he's helped us way more than like since he's been born. Like he helped us way before that, which is pretty cool because you probably don't know this, but he's actually an IVF kid.
Which means, sorry.
So in vitro fertilization is what they call it.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So we actually had done tons of different procedures and things, and like we weren't able to get pregnant for 6 years, essentially. So it was like forever and just crushing our souls, you know.
Yep.
And then we ended up having to do IVF to get there, and that was an expensive thing to do, but it's worth it, you know. Like you get these awesome little guys in your world, and I didn't realize how worth it was going to be until he was here, you know. And I'm like, holy cow! Like I'm fired up now. Like I got this little guy, and he's just awesome and amazing. I can't imagine life without him, you know. And I want to make sure I can provide and help him have, you know, an awesome life and be able to do things with him that I couldn't do with my dad, you know, growing up, because we didn't have the money to do it or whatever it may be, you know. So honestly, he helped me way before to push to get working on something that's going to be able to provide, to be there. And honestly, so I could even just have him in my life. Because IVF is not cheap. But ever since he's been here and I see him, it pushes me, which is cool. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily like a thought or a thing that I had.
No, it's beautiful, man. I'm really happy that you shared this. It also comes to the fact that so many think like babies come like that.
Yeah.
But not often is the topic about, you know, dude, it's not that easy. Like there's a lot of couples out there that you know, have difficulty with it. And I'm glad you guys have a child. I'm actually happy that you're still together, because there's also so much stress that at a certain point the relationship just ends, right? I got a really good friend of mine back home. They finally got pregnant. Well, she got finally pregnant 4 months within the pregnancy. They split up. The 8 years of trying to get a baby was put so much pressure on the relationship that they just completely broke apart. So now they finally got a kid. Now they're separated, right?
Oh man, that's sad. Yeah.
So man, sorry, man, I got a quick message for every single entrepreneur that's listening, man, and that's feel like I'm not spending enough time with my kids. Dude, remember, you're blessed you have kids. And step up, man, make it happen. Because look, 6 years trying to get babies, that's commitment, that's for sure. But
a lot of money, a lot of resources, surgeries, different things went into that. And I mean, it's hard when people come to us and they're like, oh, like you can take my kids. And we're like, oh man, that's just like, don't take it lightly. That's such a blessing, you know? So
absolutely, man. So let me ask you this, man, with that whole process, right? How has your relationship with your wife changed? Has it changed? And how has it changed? Because I can assume that it will just, you know, especially when then the baby is there. In general, except for my good friend, but in general, I would assume that you would go really, really a lot closer. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. And honestly, it's definitely not easy through the trial of trying to get, you know, kids and through all that stuff. I mean, I think she had 3 surgeries.
Wow.
We had tons of different procedures we do. And I remember just like not having money, but putting down a card for, you know, $600 for this procedure, $1,000 here, another 500 here, like, and then doing the IVF procedure, we actually had to take out a loan to do it, which was pretty crazy. I mean, I think it was like $25,000 just for that last procedure, you know? And so like, yeah, it's hard stuff, but what's cool about it, and I don't know if you've ever noticed this maybe, but have you ever noticed how kids a lot of times like don't respect their parents, or like they don't, you know, they respect them, but they don't quite love them as much as the parent loves the kid. Does that make sense?
Yeah, go ahead.
So like parents, it's really funny to me because if you look at it, you go through life, kids growing up through their teenagers, they just teenage years, like they're just, you know, they're kicking back to the parents. Well, then the parents get old and pretty soon they need help. And then the kids help the parents. And it's almost like the kids love the parents more than the parent does at that time now. Like the role reverses in a way. Yeah. And so what's interesting about that is I honestly think it's tied to the amount of service that is happening from one to the other. That makes sense. So honestly, like because we've gone through all this, I've had to like serve my wife more, help her out with more things. And because of that, I think it's deep in the relationship that we have together, because we see the service and the sacrifices that we make for each other in order to make these things happen. And so I would say, honestly, if you're having a hard time in that relationship, how much are you doing for the other? That's a huge part of it.
Absolutely, man. That's a huge gold nugget that I hope everybody read now, man. Because it's absolutely. I also always like to add, it's how you serve, right? Because I used to think I served my wife, but all I served was with the other head.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Once I started serving from not even this part, but from this part, that completely changed the game, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really happy that you shared that, because that's huge. That's so important, and it's really simple, right? I would even say it's easy. That's even easy. Is that true? Can I say, like, was it easy for you to serve your wife in more ways than you did before that?
Oh yeah, totally. The only thing I have a problem with is remembering different things to do.
Okay.
You know, like So
See, it's simple, it's easy. I just don't like to clean the bathroom.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
That's
awesome, man. I appreciate that. So talking about serving, man, because that's a great point to hook that up in a business. Would you say that is, and if not, what is it, but the biggest success for, you know, where you guys are at right now with the business?
Yeah, you know what? There's a quote, and I forget who it's from. Hopefully you can remember it, but I thought it was like Pat Flynn, maybe, but I don't remember. There's a quote that's saying, you're not going to get what you want until you help enough other people get what they want. And I'm a true believer in that. Like, a lot of times people think, well, I can't give away like all my good content. I can't like be talking about all these great things because I want to save them for people who paid me for it, right? And what's funny about that is that's a totally false belief. We essentially teach anything and everything. That's like, we try to teach the best that we can, because we know if you find one video from us, we don't want you finding just something that's like, kind of half baked a little bit, like, oh, I just need to get some content out there. Like, I'm going to give just a little tiny thing here, but I don't want to give them everything, or like, I don't want to give them like a really good part of what it is. And so you don't, and if you look at people who do that, they don't get the following. They don't get people coming in because they're not teaching stuff that actually helps people.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas for like Steve and anything I ever try to do, like, I honestly want to give as much as I can, because I know if I can help enough other people, then people want to help me in the end. And I've actually seen that with tons of other things in my life. I grew up, my dad was very service oriented. And I remember as a kid, it was such a hard thing for me to like just go and help these people clean their yard and do all this stuff on a Saturday when I could be watching cartoons, and like hanging out with my friends and doing all this stuff. But instead we're out here doing yard work for somebody else. And I remember that was really hard at first, but then I started noticing every time I was done, I had like this amazing feeling and was just like pumped and ready to go for like anything after that. And I felt better than if I was watching cartoons or like doing something with my friends,
Mm-hmm.
And I started looking forward to doing it. And pretty soon, like, I noticed I did it for people around me, and they would do it for me all the time. Like I had people give me stuff
Mm-hmm.
that I never asked for or would never, ever even think about asking for. And they just gave it to me because, they wanted to, which is pretty cool. So it comes back, definitely comes back.
Yeah, I would even say it comes back tenfold.
Oh yeah, it's pretty cool.
It doesn't even have to be as big as raking leaves in somebody's yard. Like what we did for Christmas was, we did last year as well. But this year, all we did was I had the youngest one make a drawing on one piece of paper, just small, right? And on the other side, and on the front, I had my oldest one write down Felices Fiestas, which is like happy holidays, right?
Yeah.
And then on the other side, we all put our names, and we put a little bag with like 3 pieces of chocolate in it.
Yeah.
We went by on like the day before Christmas. We went by all their houses and knocked on their doors and said like, hey, and I had the kids give it to them.
Yeah.
Dude, man, they got 10x of what they gave. It's insane. Like, they got so many gifts. Like yesterday, they even still got gifts. It's like, oh, that was not the idea of this. Okay, we got to do this different next year. But yeah,
there's actually some psychology behind that too. Reciprocity is huge. If you're giving people stuff that's going to help them, they want to return the favor naturally.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's that's a good reason why you should give awesome stuff out as much as you can, because they're going to want to return the favor for helping them. So, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely, man. All right. Last question, man, before we sign off. So let me ask you this. You know that I'm purely focused on entrepreneur dads, right?
Yeah.
What would be like the biggest golden nugget advice that you can share with any entrepreneur dad out there? And it doesn't matter what area.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Honestly, this is the one I like to say because I see it happening the most and it drives me nuts.
Right.
I've done it too before, so don't worry. But I'll tell you a little story. Back in college, right after I found the MLM, before I found Steve, so kind of in that middle period there, I remember I took a class and I was super stoked about this class because we were supposed to start a business in this class. And I'm like, yes, let's do it. So I take the class and he's like, okay, fine. Like, come up with an idea, something you want to sell. And then like, let's try to sell it, And I remember I'm like racking my brain on what ideas should I do, or what should I sell? Like what product, all these different things. I remember I pulled out my phone. I was just walking around campus and I pulled out my phone to look at something. And instead of like pulling it out, I kind of like it caught in my pocket and I like chucked it. So like just like flew through the air. And back then it was the iPhone 4. I don't know if yeah. It's glass on both sides. It's just straight glass. So if you ever drop that thing, you're just toast, like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you drop it, but I like chucked it. So it's like flying through the air and it's like slow-mo. I'm just watching it go through the air. and smashes on the concrete and just slides forever. And so I'm like, there's no way. Like it's yeah. Sure enough, I pick it up and it's just completely demolished. And I'm a poor college student, so I'm like, I don't want to pay to get this repaired, but I need my phone.
Yep.
So I found a part online. I ordered it. I went to YouTube. I looked up some YouTube videos on how to fix it. I took it apart. I fixed it myself. I put it back together, and I was like, this is cool. And then I was like, ding, like, oh, what if I just made this business, like whatever. So in my class, I said, I'm going to start doing smartphone repairs. Like, I just want to do that. Like, let's try it out, And my teacher's like, okay, cool. That's a great idea. I've got this service actually where in town, I send out all these text messages to everybody in town. And it's like $50. I'll give it to you because it's normally $100. He's like, I'll give it to you for half off for $50. And you can send out a text and like make an offer, And I had no experience in business. This was my first business class. Like I had nothing. I didn't know marketing. I didn't know any of that stuff. I just found somebody. I paid them $50 and said, yeah, I don't know, like tell them $10 off, And so he sent it out. And sure enough, I get like 3 customers from it. And I'm like, wow, this is crazy. And this funny thing, the first guy, I made a total mistake. I fixed it in front of him. And this is like the second time I had fixed that phone. Like it was, so I'm like super nervous, like going at it, like I hope I don't screw this up. And then I don't have my like videos and stuff to like go off of. So I fixed it in front of him, and thankfully I got it. Like you got your kids. That's awesome. Thankfully I got it figured out, And oh, hi. That's awesome. So essentially, like I got it running. Man, they come in and say hi. Oh, you're good. So I got this figured out, and what's funny is like a year and a half later, I ended up starting or opening my own brick and mortar doing this service, and like I was the one guy in town that offered. I had other people come in and like literally they would just go out of business because I had everybody referring to me. Like I was the community person for getting your phone fixed. And so like I started with nothing with the YouTube video, just like had to solve my own problem. And I started solving it for other people. And pretty soon it became this huge business where that was my sole income and I'm making money off of it. Mm-hmm. When I started, it was just, I'd do it at night after school or like, on weekends, like I'd do it then. And I was just hustling to make some cash. Mm-hmm. But what's funny about it is like so many people think, okay, I want to do this, but I need to know all of these things, this huge list of stuff in order to like actually start. And it's the complete opposite. Like you'll learn it as you go, like learn what you need to as you're going. And it'll take you so much farther. Just get started, just go for it and start working at it, trying to sell it, and then fulfill on it. Like figure it out as you have to do it. So honestly, like I have to live by that a lot of times with myself. I'm like, hey, I already know, like just start, I'll figure it out and it'll be good. Don't worry. Yeah. So
nice, man. I like that. Thanks for sharing that. Coulton, and first, thank you so much for being on. Second, what's the best way for others to follow you, get in contact with you, ask you questions?
That's a great, man. There's a group that I go live in a bit called Hack MLM, or if you're looking, we give out a free like 20 days of our 30-day sequence for our MLM people, or for our MLM, like people that come into our world, we train them. So we have a whole members area there. You can go to hackmlm.com and check it out there and get the free trainings and learn some stuff there. But yeah, if you want to ask me questions and stuff, that Hack MLM group is a great place where I go live in there. So yeah.
Awesome, man. That sounds great. All right. Again, thank you so much for being on. Everybody else, thank you. If you're watching the replay, make sure you hit that like button, love button. Make sure you share it. And, and of course, we will see each other again very soon. Coulton, when we sign off, make sure you stay on for a little bit, okay?
Okay, cool. Man.
Take care, man.
All right. That's awesome.